Hey guys, how's it going? Kermody here. Welcome to a really cool tutorial by Cymatics. Today we just released our extensive guide of every single shortcut inside of Ableton. It's a really handy PDF with 9 pages that you can easily print out, have right beside your desk so you can use it. Or if you're like me, you can even get a gaming mouse so you can actually map your most used hotkeys to your mouse so you can press them even quicker and don't have to press a combination. So this is really useful. You can go download it in the description of this video. But in this tutorial, I want to show off some of my favorite hotkeys. And I'm obviously going to skip over the useful ones like copy, paste, insert time. You guys know them, and if you don't know them, again, download the PDF and learn them. But I'm going to show you some that you might not have known that I still think are really useful. So we've got 17 of them. We should get started. Now the first one I want to show you guys is how to toggle full screen. Now I'm already in full screen, so this isn't going to be very helpful, but if you guys press F11, it's going to put you into full screen. And the reason I love this one is because it's going to maximize your screen space. You run out of screen space really quickly inside of Ableton, and it just cuts out the possibility of you clicking on any sort of desktop icon or seeing any sort of thing that could bother you. It's just pure Ableton, so you can really get in the zone. So F11 to full screen your Ableton. Next one, this one's going to save you so much time. Tab is going to toggle between the session view and the arrangement view. What makes Ableton so special is the ability to jump between these two different screens and, play with your sound palette here and bring it over. So if you press Tab, you can jump between them. And a really cool technique is if you actually have an element on either side of them, if you hold Tab while you have it highlighted, it'll actually bring it from one view into the other. So that's a really useful one. Next is the shortcut to open up your preferences. You're going to be going to your preferences almost every time you write a track. So Command comma on Mac, and you're going to open up your preferences quick and easy. Next up, and a really useful one, is how to get more specific with parameters. So let's say, for example, we were drawing some sort of automation here, and I found this too hard to get specific. If you hold Command, you'll notice that things slow down. I'm dragging at the exact same rate. Watch what happens when I let go. Boom. It's free. You can move a lot quicker. You hold Command, it gets really specific. And this isn't just for automation. This is for things like volume. If I hold Command, it drags a lot more specifically. So hold Command when you really want to get fine details. For the next tip here, this is how you can reset any sort of parameter. You can just click something and hit delete, and it'll reset it to where it originally was. The next one is a really good one for when you're digging through folders. Sometimes you can get really lost opening up all these folders looking for samples, especially when you have all these Cymatics samples. A really quick way to clean things up is to just double click the top folder and everything inside of it will pop closed. A really useful one for recording is F9. That'll just record. It's really useful, especially when you're in the studio with people and you don't want to have to grab your mouse and zoom in really close and try and find it. You can just press F9 and it'll start to record. This one's really cool for live performances or mixdowns, I find, and that is F1 through 8. When you're in this view here, is actually going to toggle on and off the first 8 tracks. So let me just demonstrate that right here. You'll notice as I press through, I can pop them off and on like that. It's really fun when you're mixing down to just test out turning off the kick drum for a second, see what's clashing, turn off the lead for a second, see what's clashing. Or for example, you're performing live and you want to jump between tracks, do live mashups, cool things like that. So that's a really cool feature. This one is probably my favorite, and it's inserting a MIDI track, but not only inserting a MIDI track, but inserting a MIDI track with the desired length of time. If you highlight an amount of area and on Mac you press Command-Shift-M, a MIDI clip will be made. When I first started producing, I used to think I had to go into this view here, double click one, bring it over, get it to the right length, and it was a mess. So to save you guys some time, again, highlight an area, Command-Shift-M. This one's really useful to save you time with fading. I know how many of you are probably fading all the time in your tracks or crossfading, and sometimes getting in there, finding the fade, drawing it can take a lot of time. So a really quick one to save you the time having to do that is if you highlight a desired area and you hit Command-Option-F on Mac, you will actually create a fade for the desired length of time. So for the next tip, I want to show you how you can insert silence into a song. Let's say, for example, we have our song here, and on the left, this word say the chorus, and this here were the breakdown, and we wanted to write a verse in between, and we didn't want to have to copy and paste everything over. If you just hit Command I, you have an option in bars, beats, and sixteenths how long amount of time you wish to insert. So I'm going to insert 4 bars, for example. There you go. Next up is folding and unfolding all tracks at once. It can get really messy popping open all your tracks and wanting to close them. If you hold Alt on Mac and click, they open and close all at once. That is a time saver. Now that we have all these tracks though, I want to rename them all and I want to save some time. So what we're going to do is we're obviously going to hit Command R. That's not the shortcut. You're supposed to know that one. To rename this, we're going to call it track 1, and you're going to hit Tab, and it's going to let you continue to rename things without actually having to click and go through the process with every individual track. This is going to save you a lot of time. Next up, a really useful one is quantizing, and not just quantizing, but going straight to the quantize settings. So I'm going to highlight the amount of time I want to quantize. I'm going to hit Command-Shift-U on Mac, and it's actually going to let me choose what value I want to quantize the amount. I'll hit OK, and it's done. Next up is a really cool one for editing velocity. Sometimes it's really meticulous to have to go click the little red dot and drag things. I find it can get kind of hard and becomes quite a bit of a struggle. But if you hold Command and you click and you drag, you can actually do little velocity ramps, which is really cool. Take that a step further and hold Shift when you do it, and it draws a flat ramp. Next up, what we want to do is make some curved automation. So automating things is super useful in Ableton. It's a lot of fun, but sometimes having to go in and draw your own curves is really time consuming and not as good sounding as when you hold Option, and you'll notice my mouse has a little curve symbol next to it and actually drawing a curve. This is a new feature with Ableton 9 when Ableton 8 upgraded to 9, and it is a really useful one. And lastly, I want to show you guys a shortcut to create warp markers. Warp markers are really important, and the warp modes often react depending on where the warp markers are. And you can easily input them by clicking an area and hitting Command I. So for example, if I pop a bunch in here just at random, and then I tighten up the beats mode, you can get a really interesting effect. And that will be completely altered if I add a bunch more warp markers in really easily. Instead of having to go to the top bar and double click or right click, insert warp marker, I can just hit Command I a ton. So there we go, guys. Those were 17 Ableton shortcuts that you should know if you don't already. And again, go down to the description of this video where we have an extensive list of every single Ableton shortcut in one PDF for you guys. You can easily print it out and use it. It's really, really useful. So thanks again, guys. My name's Cymatics, we're Cymatics, and I'll be back soon with another tutorial. Peace.